Students, can you confirm whether you can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, Pavani. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. So how are you doing? Doing fine. Okay, I think still students are gradually coming, isn't it?
Sir, the thing is, most of us haven't got the link yet. Now, one person shared this link. That's how we connected. I tried to contact Miss Jennifer, but she didn't respond.
I see. Okay, okay. Oh, that's what has happened, isn't it? Okay,
Yes,
okay, Buddha. Okay, Daru. Thank you. Thank you for that information. So seems the information has not passed to you, isn't it?
yes.
I see.
Actually, one of our friends shared this link. This link was received by that person. I think he's an online person who joined through Teams. Now, Miss Jennifer didn't. She didn't share the link.
I see. I see. Okay, got the point. So what we'll do is, Buddha, we'll then wait for about 1 or 2 minutes.
Sure, sir.
So all the others also could count because there are 61 students in this class. And today is the first day, so happens to be a very important day as well. Okay, students. I think now we have about 16 people. Yeah, in fact, 14. 14 students are there. Okay, we have 17 students. Right. And we have now we have waited till I think around 10 minutes. So that's a good time that you could, you could join the lecture. So therefore, Buddha, shall we start? Or
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. I'm so glad to see you all and welcome to another new lecture. Actually, today I'm not going to discuss about digital business strategy. I'm going to discuss today another very new subject. So let me, I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Right. So you can see that this is the course unit BSAA 31033 research methodology. So if you have not got that link, let me send you that link as well. So this can access through the LMS, isn't it? Okay, so let me. So through the chat, let me send the link. Okay, so this is the LMS link where you can see the subject. First, you need to log in, and through login, you'll be able to see that. So this is research methodology. I'll be your lecturer. So for the first at the first file, I uploaded the course outline. This is the course outline, and after that, I have put the textbook And in today's lesson and lesson 2, likewise, it goes on. So we shall now have a look at the course outline as we did for digital business strategy, right? So here you can see I have already opened it. So please open it. So this is the course outline. So the basic details are there on the top. Is AA31033. That's the course code. The credit value is 3. That's it's a full course. And the status says it's a core course. That means it's not an optional one. It's a core. It's a compulsory course. And it's offered in your level 3. That means third year. And it is the first semester. So, okay, let me a little bit enlarge more so you can see it back better. Hope you can see the course outline. Okay, no, Buddha. Right. So you will also see that the overall learning outcomes. So yes, what you can get after studying this course with me. So you will be able to examine the steps of conducting a scientific investigation comprehensively. So basically you'll be able to see what are the steps in conducting a research, a scientific research, which I'm going to tell you one by one. Then also I'll be telling you, I'll be enlightening you, and you will be able to identify a researchable issue. Then also you'll be doing something called a critical review of literature. It's one of your assignments as well. What's a review? What's a literature? I'll teach you. Then also you'll be able to develop scales to measure different variables. Right now, particularly in quantitative analysis, you have to measure the variables. And we'll see how to do that and how to check the validity and reliability as well. Then to develop a suitable research design, right, to address the research problem that you identified earlier. Then finally, you'll be able to come up with a research proposal, which is the next major continuous assessment requirement. So these are the things that you will be able to do once you study this course. Because remember, doing a research is of utmost importance. Is of utmost importance because what I need to tell is you can study. So far, what I have seen is you can study this course only in a degree program. Only in an academic degree program, you will be able to study so far. I have not seen in professional courses or professional courses that this kind of research methodology is being taught in this manner. Right, so this you could study only in an academic degree program like this. So it's going to be very important and you have to pay your maximum attention because this is not, you might not have studied this in any other course, right? Particularly in professional courses. So this is a new course. So therefore you have to take into, to your attention that you have to study this very well. Okay. So because if you had studied now, maybe accounting, maybe auditing, you might have studied in your professional courses, right? And that also being to a certain extent covered in this course, right? In this degree program, this ABs. But what you have to understand is the research methodology subject is a quite new subject, right? Being quite new, you have to take it to, you have to very seriously consider this. If not, you are going to be in trouble. Okay, right. So these are the learning outcomes. This is what you will be getting, and these are the weights given for those different topics that I told. So these are the things that we are going to do. We are going to cover during these sessions. So we'll be introducing what's academic research, the research process. I'll be teaching you there's a 7-stage research process today itself. Then how to define a problem. Then how to perform a literature review. So you'll understand what's a literature review. Then what's this conceptualization and operationalization I'll be teaching you. Then research designs, methods of data collection, sampling. I was telling you that in the last lecture, DBS, Digital Business Strategy, I was telling about systematic random sampling. Yes, we'll be discussing that as well. Then proposal development, and finally, analysis and reporting techniques. So those things we'll be covering during these sessions. So you can see it's a huge area that we need to cover. So attending lectures, taking part in lectures is of paramount importance. It's absolutely important, right? So this lecture is as usual recorded. So if you are not lively, so I encourage you to lively engage or come to the lecture and engage with me. But in case if you are unable to do that, then Puta, at least go through the material very carefully. Right, so this is the detail of that 10 topics. And then comes the most interesting one. So let me enlarge it as well because it's the most interesting one. So now read the assessments. So this is how you're going to be assessed. Okay. Can you see that? Assessments. You can see it says during the semester there will be 2 classes, 2 classroom works. So we'll have 2 classroom works and then 1 individual assignment which focus on the critical literature review. And other individual assignment is on the research proposal. So there will be 2 assignments, right? And in fact, there will be a critical literature review as well as then there will be a research proposal. So I'll tell how you could do this. Then there will be finally an end semester exam. So you could see very well the breakup. Right here, the breakup is there. Can you see that, Puta? So let me try some digital business strategies. Okay, highlighting. Okay, yes, you can see it's now highlighted. So critical literature review 10%, research proposal it's 40%, and in semester exam 50%. So this is the breakup for your assignments. Is that clear, Buddha? Okay. Is that clear? Your continuous assessment.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Buddha, very good. Right. Again, let me make it large. Right. So let me go back. Right. So that will be the assessment. And yes, we have these direct contact hours 45, right? And there's indirect contact hours as well. Then finally, these are the recommended readings. Particularly, I'll be using this particular book, the Bryman's Business Research Methods book, which is in fact already uploaded. Right. So I have given that book to you. So you can now download the book. And from chapter number 1 onwards, we'll be discussing. Okay, so this Primer's book, and please do read this book. It's a very, very important book that will teach you how to do research. And I'm going to cover chapter by chapter. Okay, that's about the textbook. So give me a moment. Okay, right. Since it's a huge book, it takes time to open, isn't it? Okay, so this is the textbook that you can go through. And okay, business research methods, Alan Bryman and Mbappe. Okay, so that's about the basic information that you have to understand. Right, so let me now go back to duplicate. So since it's a huge book, it got a little bit stuck. Give me a moment. Okay. Okay, so today we'll go. So we'll open this one and lesson 1 today. So we'll discuss lesson number 1. So I just covered about the course outline and the individual contents as well as the assessment, how the assessment will be done. So there will be 2 classroom works, right? And then there will be a critical review of literature. And then there will be finally, as continuous assessment, there will be what? A research proposal that you have to develop. So I'll teach you what are these things. Now, even I have given you a research proposal template as well as a sample proposal. And I'll give you more information in time to come. So that's your individual assignment. Okay, so what you have to do is that. So here there's no group work. Research is individual work. Understood, Pudha? So research is individual work. There's no group work. Okay. So now let's go to lesson number 1. And we shall try to discuss what's a research and what's the research process. And I'm going to base on the textbook, which is Business Research Methods by Alan Bryant and Immabel. Okay. So shall we open the slideshow? I have already downloaded it and I have already opened it. Can you see my slide, Pudha?
Yes, sir.
Very good, very good. Excellent. So we'll ask some questions once in a while, isn't it? Now we have 32 students. That's good. We have, 32 students. That's really good. So I'll be sometimes calling your names and all your numbers. In fact, you have your numbers or your names, and I'll be asking, okay, whether you understood and to clarify certain things. Okay. So therefore, be ready. Attentively listen to them, right? Okay. Right. So this is the first, lesson. Today's the first lesson that I just covered the course outline. I elaborated the course outline as well as the assessment methods, as well as I gave you a brief description about the textbook. You will see it's a huge book, so therefore don't worry. What I told for digital business strategy holds here. What I teach is what I test, right? So therefore, although it's a huge book, don't worry, I'm going to cover certain areas that's going to be important. Because this book is written for PhD students, MBA students, then undergraduates like you. and even for other levels. So it might be a little bit too much certain areas. So what I have done is I'm going to teach you only the applicable parts, the important parts to you. Okay. Is that clear? Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll now discuss what's research and what's not research. Now I want you to look at the internet, right? And tell me what do you mean by research, first of all. So we are going to study about research now. So I'm going to give you a small activity, right? A small activity. What do you mean by research? So just go through the internet or tell your own ideas. And what you need to do is you have to send me that as a message, right? A Teams message. I'm going to give you 1 or 2 minutes. Please check, and then I'm going to ask you what you mean by that, right? So therefore, kindly send me. Take 1 or 2 minutes for that. Just check the internet and see what is research, and then I'll teach you what's research indeed. But take 1 or 2 minutes and try to understand what is research, and send it as a message, as a chat message, right? Put it in the chat. So it's recorded in this meeting. So I can see your engagement. Level of engagement, very important. When it comes to online lectures, level of engagement is really, really important. Okay, take 1 or 2 minutes and tell me what you mean by research. And you can paste your answer in the chat and send me as a chat message. Okay. No one has sent me. Put in the chat. Teams වල chat එකේ දාන්න මොකද්ද research කියලා තමුන්ට අදහස් කරන්න. You can tell anything, and I'm going to give you the proper definition, and which, in fact, if it is tested at the exam, what you need to tell, right? So check in the internet and tell me what you mean by research. Put it in the chat, right?
Excuse me, sir. Actually, we
Yes,
have
Buddha.
not given the chat option.
Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. What to do? ඒක තමයි මේ එක chat එකක්වත් ඇවිල්ලා නැත්තේ. Isn't it? So because you have been given as make participant. If you are a presenter, then you can. Yeah, that's what has happened. Make an attendee. Some people could, but some people can't. Setting I think I cannot do that. The administrator needs to do that, it seems, isn't it? Let's see the settings and see whether I can do something about that. Device settings only. I can set only my things. Okay, there's another way that we can do that, but again, it will take time. So now then I will ask you to verbally tell me what you mean by research, what to do, no? We'll start with De Silva. De Silva 001. Uta, what do you mean by research? Sorry, Buddha, can't hear.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes. Then I know.
Studies, research. Research is a study of a resource and
Okay.
investigate in order to establish facts and reach into new conclusions.
Okay, good. Thank you, Buddha. Thank you, De Silva. Okay. We'll ask another student what you mean by research. We have Pushpika. Pushpika, Buddha, can you tell us what do you mean by research?
Hello, sir.
Pushpika, I'm very sorry, Buddha.
Yeah.
Pronounced Pushpika, yes. Yes, Buddha, what's research to you?
It is a systematic investigation regarding any study or field and find a new way of knowledge through a methodology.
Very good. Excellent. Very good. She covered two very important elements in defining research, which I'll tell you as well. Let's see some others as well. We have Zaib. Zaib is 52. Buddha, what do you mean by research? Zaib? Zaid is silent. Okay, then we'll give the chance to another person. Yes, Sandarwa, 37. What do you mean by research?
So we identify some issues and which is not previously identified or which is, not the uncovered those identify issues.
Very good, very good. So something new, that's what he was telling. And the earlier student was telling it has to come out of a systematic process. Nice. Then we'll ask Pavani. Pavani, what's research for you, Buddha?
So it's the creation of new knowledge or the use of existing knowledge in a new and a creative way, maybe to generate new concepts, methodologies, and understandings.
Okay, okay, Buddha, thank you. Okay, new things. Okay, great. Right. So I think my students are giving me very nice answers. Thank you, Buddha. Right. Now, let's see what's the formal definition. Let's go to the slide and let's see the formal definition is what is research? So this is the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, right, of English, how it defines research. See how it defines research. A careful study or investigation, especially in order to discover new facts or information. So here, if you look at this definition carefully, there are two elements. One, a research should be a careful or systematic investigation. Number two, it has to find something new. Right? Now, for an example, if I let's say if I found out again the cell phone, right, which is already there, and I'm going to create it again. Is it research? Is it research? Now let's say, oh, if you are getting fever, you get paracetamol, right? Now I'm going to again discover paracetamol or any other drug or any other product that's existing as it is without any innovation, without any change. I'm just going to create it again. Is it research? Is it research? You have to unmute and tell. You have to engage. Think that these are physical class. Is it research, Puta? If I'm going to create something that's already there, as it is, without any new feature, is it research?
No, sir, it's
No,
not.
sir.
No.
It's not research, indeed, because it's already there. So that's why the new thing is very important. But On the other hand, Puta, not all new things could be treated as research if it doesn't come out of a careful study or investigation. A research should be done according to a systematic process. Now, let me take an example. Now, sometimes back we had COVID-19, and at the beginning of COVID-19, there was one Veda Mahatya. Dhammika Veda Mahatya. Dhammika Veda Mahatya came up with Dhammika Pani. Right. Those days he came up with the Dhammika Pani. Now, can we treat it as a research? Now, earlier to COVID-19, Dhammika Pani was not there. Right? So, can we treat it as research?
No.
No. Why? Why not? Yes, you are correct. Why not? It's something new. Dhammika Pani was not
Not
there.
a technical.
That's the secret. Excellent. It did not come out of a careful scientific investigation. So, in fact, how Dhammika Veda Mahatya, right, came out of that or made that Dhammika Pani, how he invented that pani. So, it seems that he has got some inspiration from Lord Khan. Kal is a goddess, and he has got some divine intervention, which is not established, and that's what he says, at least. And he did not he did not invent that. He did not come out of that new Dhammika Pani with such kind of, systematic investigation. Right. Then later on, this Dhammika Pani was tested for its effectiveness in the medical laboratories of Rajarata University. Right. Later on, it was investigated. What did they find out? What did they find out? Silva, what do you think they found out? Pavani? What's their finding? Was it an effective drug? Was it an effective medicine? They, in fact, did clinical trials. They tried to find whether Dhammika Pani or the Dhammika syrup cures COVID-19. So they checked that. What was the outcome? Now, all these were there in the papers and these public information. And we are all Sri Lankans, isn't it? Of course, there are some students who are here joining from abroad, but majority are from Sri Lanka. So what was the outcome? My God. You don't know the outcome? What do you think was the outcome? At least predict. Was Dhammika syrup effective or not? Samarasinghe? 16. Pushpika? What do you think? What was the outcome? Rislan? What was the outcome? Was it an effective drug? Sorry? Yes, Sandra?
It's not effective. It's not effective.
Absolutely. Their clinical trials indicated there is no any impact. No any impact, right, to cure COVID-19. So see, it was not an outcome of a careful investigation. It was something new indeed, but not everything new can be treated as an outcome of research. So the best example is Dhammika syrup, right? And then there were some other bogus products as well during that time, but nothing had a real impact. But on the other hand, you can see that we had this Pfizer and Sinopharm, likewise different, other products that in fact they were tested quite in a very haphazard and a quick way, of course, quickly, right? Therefore, there are after effects, it seems, right? Some people are telling that there are huge impacts other than curing COVID-19 as well, or giving immunity to COVID-19. Other than that, it had some impacts, that's correct. But they were tested clinically. They were subjected to a careful investigation, right? And a new vaccine was, right? Several types of new vaccines were produced. But I had only two, vaccinations of Sinopharm because the others were not available. So I'm an ordinary man. So because being an ordinary man, I was only accessible to Sinopharm. So it's like I think I was injected water. So I fortunately have no after effects so far. Right, but some of my colleagues, right, they are complaining that there are some significant negative impacts, but unverified, I don't know. And some people tell that it's causing heart attacks and different kind of things, I don't know. But again, it has to be investigated. But at least they were quite quickly tested and they were produced based on a scientific investigation. So that's the difference between a research and something new. So if you are ever asked at the exam to define research, so you have to indicate that these two things. What are the two things? The research, in a research, you have to follow a systematic, careful investigation. Number two, something new has to come out of that process. It could be a new fact, new product, new service, new information, whatever. Understood? Is that clear? Now, do you understand what she said then? Right? The
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, very good. So someone asked after this lecture. So you had this research methodology. What's that? So what is research? Then you should tell, okay, yes, we had this particular subject and Professor Ajwad was teaching that. And research is a careful investigation that leads to, or it's a systematic process that leads to something new. So those two things you will have to indicate. Now at the exam also, if you asked for 4 marks, let's say I'm asking what's research. In that case, Buddha, you need to clearly indicate what is research by indicating these 2 points. If you tell only 1 point, then you have to indicate Buddha only, one thing, right? So you'll be indicating, you'll be getting only half marks. Half marks. Right now, if I'm giving 4 marks, and if you tell that research is coming up with something new, then you are going to get 2 marks. Right? If I'm going to give 4 marks to the entire definition. So therefore, the research is where you follow a systematic process, a careful investigation that leads to new something. And during this course, I'm going to teach you how to perform this scientific careful investigation. Even today, I'll be teaching you the 7-stage process of doing a research, which you will find out to be very intuitive, common sense. Research is common sense. We even studied this when we were smaller, right? Right. Even without our knowledge, we might have done a research. So you will today understand what's this research process, the 7-stage research process, and that's the main scope of today's lecture. Right? Any questions? We'll ask whether students are having questions related to the definition of research. So that's the base, no? We'll ask whether you have any questions. We have Sirivardhan, 38. Sirivardhan, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Good, very good. Islam, is it clear, Buddha?
Clear, sir.
Good, good. So we'll ask another students. Sandaruani. Oh yeah, Sandaruan as well as Sandaruani. Sandaruani?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Clear, no? Okay, good, good. Right. So that is research. Excellent. So you gave the proper answer. So one student exactly told what is research clearly. But other students also took an attempt. But in all your answers, you indicated that something new, right? Research should produce something new. But again, remember, not all new things are outcomes of research. It has to follow a systematic process. Okay, now let's see two branches of research. And we can categorize different things in different ways now. Humans could be categorized in different, based on different ways, right? Humans can be categorized in different ways. What are the ways humans could be categorized? We could be categorized in different ways. Based on our gender, we could categorize. The same humans could be categorized based on the religious affiliation, based on the countries, right? Based on the caste or whatever the other basis you can categorize people. Some bases are really ridiculous, but again, people, right, could be categorized based on different ways. Likewise, research also could be categorized as in two different ways. One is called applied research. You can see on the topic applied research. Then the other one is called basic research. Now, what do we do applied research? You can see the second bullet point, the answer is given. Applied research is specifically aimed at solving a current experienced problem. Applied research tries to find a solution for a problem that you have, right? Let's, for an example, say in your organization, right? People are not staying, particularly in the accounting division. The people are not staying. They are leaving. They stay 1 month and they run. Right now, the HR manager wants to know why, and she is performing a research on them. Right. So she is trying to find a solution for a problem that she is having currently. That is called applied research. On the other hand, the other type of research is called basic research. Here, the main idea is not to find a solution for a problem, but to generate knowledge or understanding and some information on something. Now, for an example, to come up with a theory on something. Right? For an example, how this world is formed, the beginning of this world. Right? There is a theory called Big Bang theory. Likewise, different theories are there. Right? Then Charles Darwin came up with the evolutionary theory. And he even suggested humans are coming from monkeys. And monkeys are our brothers and sisters. Right? So that was his theory. So here, did he try to find any solution for that? For a solution for something? By telling that the humans are evolved from monkeys or whatever, do you find any solution for a problem? Although it's being rejected by some other scientists, such kind of claims. Now, on the other hand, someone tells, okay, the world was formed based on this particular way. Does it address any problem currently that you are experiencing? Abda. What do you think, Pawan?
No, sir, it doesn't.
It doesn't. It just you create knowledge for the sake of creating knowledge. You create some knowledge for the sake of creating knowledge. It doesn't try to address any problem. That's called basic research. Right. Now you are managers. You will be managers, you will be senior managers. We all are managers, right? We are managing something in our lives, right? We all are managers, right? In a way. And you also will be, of course, managing directors, managers, senior managers, CFOs, CEOs, right? Now for you, what kind of research is more relevant? Applied research or basic research? Applied research or basic research? What's more important? As managers, as accountants, as professionals, what's more important? Applied the basic.
Applied research.
One student says applied research. Okay, thank you. How about others? Sandharwani?
Applied.
Applied, okay. Then we'll ask Rislan.
Applied, sir.
Applied. Excellent, excellent. You got the answer. As accountants, as managers, as people who are in the field, what's more important to us is the applied research. So we'll be discussing applied research during this course. Basic research to create theories and other things, yes, that's important. I don't say that's not important, because people might need some questions. How the humans were, how they came into existence, how the world came into existence. What happens after you die, right? No one ever knows that. And there are theories. Right? Religions provide their theories, right? And different other ways it's being interpreted. So those are basic research outcomes of basic research. Right? So therefore, please do understand, Puta, there are two kinds of classifications. You can classify research based on whether you are trying to address a problem or whether you are going to create knowledge. Right? Applied versus basic research. Is it clear? So far I explained to you what is research. And then I taught you the difference between applied research and basic research. Is that clear? Is that clear, Puta?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Because some people erroneously think research methodology subject is difficult. Not at all, it's not difficult. Once you understand anything, it's not difficult. If you understand it, it's not difficult. So once you understand how things are difficult, the main thing is the understanding, not to by heart, by heart cram things and put in that into your head. No, you have to understand, then automatically you'll be able to apply that. Okay, right. So this is the second thing I discussed today. First thing I discussed was research. Second thing I discussed the difference between applied research and the basic research. Okay. Right. Let's move forward if you don't have any questions.
Say small doubt, sir.
Of course. Let's clarify any doubts. Let me come. Yes. Of course, Puta. Any questions? Yes, Sandharwan. What's your doubt?
Sir, that my question is now suppose that I already know the answers for that question, but some other teams are giving no, there are some other factors also.
Okay.
So how do I frame it? No, I mean like we'll take example. Now suppose that money printed is causes for that inflation, and we already know that answers. I mean the money printed cause for the inflation, but some other teams are giving not about the money printed, there are some other factors also.
Indeed.
That causing for that inflation. Now, suppose if I am doing like any kind of activity, so those things can be treated like research. I mean
Indeed.
that I want to see that how that other factors are impacting.
Very good question. Excellent question. Excellent question. Thank you very much, Sandurvan. Now, in fact, one of our central bank governors, right, who is also a professional accountant, shamelessly claimed what? Money printing does not cause what? Inflation. Isn't it? Yes. So very, sorry situation, right? One of the professional accountants from a professional body, and who was a president of that professional body as well, was telling that money printing won't cause inflation. My goodness. What kind of a, how stupid people could be to gain petty things, isn't it? But that's not the question Sadhurvan asked. Sadhurvan is asking this. Sadhurvan says, now he argues that money printing will cause inflation. Then some of others of his other friends of him tells, not only money printing, there are other things also could cause inflation. Now, Putta, what you can do is, you can do a research called experimental research. Right? Now, in an experimental research, you can do an experiment. Now, next week, Putta, I'll be teaching you, there are 5 types of research designs. Right? Longitudinal, cross-sectional, experimental, case study, and comparative case study. Likewise, I'll teach you, there are 5 types. One type is Putta called experimental. You can do experiments. Even these COVID experiments, you do that. You provide a drug and see whether it has an impact. Now, what you can do is, Putta, you can do a small research in that country. One, you keep all others constant and print money. Inadvertently, you print money as we did in some other countries, and the central bank governor was telling at that time, money printing does not cause, and Sri Lanka became a bankrupt, a bankrupt country, which was also officially announced by the governor, isn't it? The present governor. But so one thing you can do is, Putta, Sandurvan, you can print money and see by holding all others constant and see whether it causes inflation. Then what you do is you keep the money printing constant. That means you don't in fact print money, and you take another factor that your friend argues, right? And you increase that factor or reduce that factor and see what's the impact on inflation. So likewise, you can perform a research and see whether there could be an impact in Sri Lanka or in any other country. That's called, Putta, experimental research. And in fact, to do that, you have to be in an authoritative position, right? You have to be in an authoritative position. Then you'll be able to, Putta, see whether that kind of situation, whether money printing or some other kind of, activity or factor would impact the inflation. That's one thing. But on the other hand, Putta, if you're unable to do that experiment, the other way what you can do is you can see other countries, similar countries like Sri Lanka. You can see in another country, maybe some factor that your friend claims is quite higher than other factors. And in that country, the impact of inflation. What's the impact of inflation? And also, Putta, you can see the literature. Literature means already studies that have been done. In those studies, they might have investigated how factors are impacting inflation. So some scientists might have already done that study. So in that case, you can get that information as well. But if you really want to see in a country whether something is impacting inflation or not, you have to keep others constant, other factors constant, and take a single factor at a time and increase or reduce that and see what happens to the inflation. Got the point, Sandharwan? That's called experimental research, which is a part of applied research.
Yeah, got it. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Got the point. No, that's very good question, Putta. Because always now but as researchers, now once you follow the scientific method, you won't take, you would not take others' word just for granted. අනිත් කෙනා කියන නිසා දේවල් ඊට පස්සේ පිළිගන්න උත්සාහ කරන්නේ නැහැ. You won't be taking others' words as it is. You will try to verify that. Now you told you studied auditing. In auditing, we call that quality what? Not taking others' words as it is, but you are trying to verify that. What's that? What's that quality? Can someone tell me? Now, once you study research, that will be your case. You wouldn't take others' words as it is, you will verify that. In auditing, what's that quality known as? In ISA 200 or SLA US 200, objectives of an auditing, right? Independent audit, that's explained. Anyone? What's that quality? My goodness. What's that quality? That's called professional skepticism. Did you study that? Fernando, 21. Pushpika, 23. Did you study that concept called professional skepticism?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Very good. What's professional skepticism? Having an open mind, right? That there could be material misstatements that could have occurred, either due to fraud or error. And also critical evaluation of audit evidence. That's professional skepticism. Likewise, being researchers, don't take others' words. Your friends might tell, yes, this causes that, that causes this. So, but on the other hand, you could verify that. You could read the existing studies. If you are unable to do a study, you could read the studies already done by other researchers, by top experts, scientists, and that's called literature review. So I'm going to teach you how to do that, how to perform a literature review, right? So that's part of your continuous assessment. And after you perform a literature review, you will get the answer. Or you can do your own experiment if you are in the capacity of doing that. Right? You can perform your own experiment, but now printing money or not printing money might be a little bit out of your scope. I do understand. So best option might be to read the relevant literature, to read the relevant theories on this area and come up with an answer. So very good question, Putta. Thank you for that question, Sandharwan. Any other students who are having any questions? Because research is part and parcel of an academic's life. As you go for your audit firms or non-audit firms, right, or in your academic activities, you might be in schools and you might be in different other kind of institutions working. As academics, as university academics, what we do is, this is what we do. Perform daily research, right? Even after this particular, lecture at 9:30 p.m. We are going to finish at 9:30 p.m. I'll be having a research discussion with 5 students on their master's thesis. And tomorrow I'm going to have again around 10 p.m. Yes, 10 p.m. You heard me correct. I'm going to have with another academics of Rajarata University and some other institutions. We are going to have a joint research discussion. to publish a good paper. Already we had published, and in fact, about 2 weeks ago, right, we won a world prize, right? We won a world prize for being the best researchers in auditing, as well as in integrated reporting research, which was hosted by ICAI, Indian Institute of Chartered Accountants. And so it was in Dubai, they held their ceremony. So my colleagues went there, and I also joined through Zoom, right? They allowed us to virtually join. So yes, this is what we do. We perform research. And that's why it's a very fascinating subject. If you know what you are doing, you can apply that and find solutions rather than relying on others' words, right? So I'm going to teach you today itself. There's a 7-stage process how you can come up with solutions for your problems. If you have problems in your life, yes, you can apply the research process, the 7-stage research process that I'm going to explain to you. Okay. Any other questions, Buddha? Is it clear? A good question. Thank you, Sandharva. Please do ask me any questions, right? I'll be very happy to elaborate. Then the next question that I'm going to ask you is whether managers require research, or is it a waste of time to study research? You are managers, you are accountants, and you will be, of course, in very high ranks in near future. Indeed, that's our expectation as academics, right? Now, my question now is the relationship, okay, between managers and research. Now, for managers, do you need research? If a manager says, right, let's say a sales manager says, right, learning research is a waste of time and money. Do you agree? Do you agree? What do you think, De Silva? Do you agree with that?
No, sir.
Why not?
Managing involves in problem solving. So
Indeed, very good. So we were talking about applied research, isn't it?
yeah.
So in applied research, you try to find solutions for your problem. If not, what will happen? If not, to get your problems resolved, you have to pay consultants and outside researchers millions or sometimes billions, right, to get solutions for your problems. So you can save a lot of money, not as only managers, but for your personal life as well, right? So therefore, remember, Buddha, very well. That's why we teach this course for you, right, under this degree program, right? Although we are not trying to make you, right, researchers like we find in universities, we are trying to give you the flavor where you'll be able to apply the research methods to find solutions for your problems, life problems, as well as other problems, right? So yes, applied research is there to find solutions for problems. So that's why we are saying, right, very clearly, managers with knowledge of research have an advantage over those without. Of course, if 2 people come, right, to an organization to be recruited, and one person knows about research, then if the other person doesn't know about research, and both have equal qualifications and other knowledge, rather than the only difference if it is research, the person who with research knowledge will be recruited, right? Because that person can find solutions for applied problems. Then yes, that's what I say. Knowledge of research problem solving process helps managers to identify problem before it gets out of control. So if you know research knowledge, if you have the research knowledge, you will know that something is going wrong and something needs to be done. And of course, minor problems can be solved by the manager, him or herself. Right? You don't need to pay millions of dollars to others. And also another thing is that you will be able to read and understand research journals, research articles, right? Current knowledge, because current knowledge is there in the research. So if you know to read them, then you can apply them in your life, in your business, in your employment. And anyway, a person who doesn't know about research might know what's going on right around him or her, and finally will be thoroughly disadvantaged. So I think you all know about Mr. Nandika Buddhipal. Who is Mr. Nandika Buddhipal? Anyone can tell me who is Mr. Nandika Buddhipal? Who is Mr. Nandika Buddhipal? He is the CFO, Chief Financial Officer of Commercial Bank. So you can understand how busy he should be. But once I was listening to one of his speeches, and he was telling that he takes at least 10 to 15 minutes to read the current knowledge in his field, which is published in research journals and articles. Right? Why? He was telling that then he could apply that, right, in his job responsibilities, in his job, in finding solutions for his problems, right? So that ability comes only if you are familiar with research. If not, you will be a typical professional accountant who knows what to do, what the accounting or auditing standards tell you to do, and that's it, what you know. You cannot think of your own. You'll be just following orders. But leaders are not people who just follow orders. Leaders should have the critical thinking ability. So research process will provide you that ability, right? So therefore, that's why we say that for managers, research, learning research, studying research is critical. That will give you a huge advantage, right, over others. Okay, and that's why in your degree program, they have introduced this subject, research methodology. And that's what I'm teaching you, this particular subject. Is that clear? And just to show you, right, and after that we'll take a small break, just to show you the research I have done with my other colleagues. Right. So let me take you to my Google Scholar page. For any academic, you will have this Google Scholar page. And this one I showed you. So this is the research I have done. And you can see my rank H index is around 9. That's a quite large number. And you can see these are the research that I have done. This was done with Rajivan. And you can see it's cited by 85. That means 85 people have quoted this research, taken this research into consideration in their own research. And this is another study. Likewise, you can see these are all studies, right? Either I have individually done or what happened? Okay. Yes. So these are all done, and these all have some kind of application. We are trying to see. Now, this is a research done by myself and 2 other researchers. White collar money laundering through opportunistic earnings management. Fair value accounting practices of failed finance companies in Sri Lanka. So research like that. We are trying to find some issues related to money laundering and how the accountants could use fair value to manipulate. Likewise, these are some research done. You can see there are hundreds of research. And so some other research as well. Then we also did a research on, does social recognition impact job satisfaction, right, among academic faculty members? The relationship between corporate social responsibility and financial performance, the effect of easy access to capital. Likewise, several research were done by myself and my colleagues. So these are all following that same process, the 7-stage process. So there are in fact 91 research done so far, right? And we are also doing certain research at even this moment, and we are trying to publish them. Okay, right. But as managers also, particularly when it comes to applied research, it's going to be really important. Right. And after the break, I'll teach you the difference between induction versus deduction. Right. Induction versus deduction, big terms, but again, remember it's not difficult at all. Right. In research, you have some big terms like, right, different terminologies there. But don't worry about them. I'm going to teach you as we did so far. And these are simple things that you have to understand, and then you can apply. Right. Now, before we take a break, do you have any questions? Is it clear that we are discussing what we are discussing? Clear? Any questions? No questions. Okay, in that case, shall we take a small break? Now it's almost 7:50. Shall we meet at 8:05? After 50 minutes? Is it okay? Okay, right. So we'll meet at 8:05 to be exact. Okay, right. And we'll continue the discussion on induction versus deduction. So these are another classification of research. Already we had one classification, that's applied research and basic research. Then I'm going to teach you inductive versus deductive research. Big terms, but you'll understand, right? It's quite easy thing, but big terms. Okay, we'll have a break and we shall meet at 8:05. 50 minutes from now, because some people are joining from overseas, so the timing might be different. So therefore, we'll meet right 15 minutes from now. Students, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, Buddha, thank you. Right. So welcome back, and we shall continue our discussion. So far, what did we discuss? We discussed what's research. And then we differentiated between applied research and basic research. And then we understood why research is important for managers. And now we shall discuss the difference between inductive versus deductive research. What's inductive research? Right? Don't be carried away with these big terms. Look at these two diagrams. The first, right, indicates, right, about inductive research. What you do is you gather data, right? You collect data and look at common patterns, and then you develop a theory. Inductive research is that. Inductive research is where you try to develop a theory by collecting data, looking patterns, and then come up with a theory. Now, let's say in a certain country, you see the politicians are robbing. Now, you would like to make a theory out of that. You could call it the political robbing theory or something like that. Now, how you are going to create a theory? First thing what you'll be doing is you'll be gathering data. You'll be observing, you'll be interviewing, you'll be collecting data on how these politicians rob. Not in Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, we have impeccable politicians, isn't it? They don't even rob a 1 cent from the people, and they don't have billions of money, right, robbed. But these are people who are like in Sri Lanka. But again, in certain other countries, there are politicians who rob. So what you do is now you want to come up with a theory on that. So what you do is first you gather data. Then what you do is you look at common patterns. Common patterns mean now you say in this particular country there are 225 politicians. Not Sri Lanka, right? In this particular country we have 225 politicians, and you see how they rob. Then once you see these people how they rob, you will see that there are common patterns. They will be using cryptocurrency. They will be using some other methods for robbing. And then what you'll be doing is you'll be developing a theory out of that. Right? Maybe you will see that there are 5 common methods of robbing. 5 common methods of robbing, and you call it the political robbing theory. Just I came up with that kind of a theory, right? So that's called inductive research, where you take the data, you look at the common patterns and come up with a theory. Now let's apply that to an accounting example. Now say for an example, assume that there is no theory on depreciation, or there is no any accounting standard on depreciation, no property, plant and equipment standard. And there's nothing called depreciation, or you don't have an idea of that. No written document, no written theory, no written model. Say that's the situation. So now you want to come up with a theory on depreciation. So what you do is you go to different companies, different entities, and you ask them what kind of depreciation methods they use. Because there's no, let's assume that there's nothing like that, no accounting standards, nothing. And now it's in 1800s, let's say, that you are trying to come up with a theory on depreciation. So what you do is you go to different entities. At that time, companies were not there. So you might be going to sole proprietorships, partnerships. Likewise, you are going to go to different entities and you are going to ask them, okay, what kind of depreciation methods you use, right? Likewise, you'll be gathering data first. Then what you do is you see what are the common patterns. So you will see that majority are using a straight line depreciation method. Some people are using the accumulated depreciation method. Some people are using the unit of analysis or unit of digits method. Likewise, you might have understood that there are 3 common methods. And based on that, you will be coming up with a theory on depreciation. Right? Theory on depreciation. So that's called inductive research. Out of data, you develop a theory. That's called inductive research. Then let's see, what do you mean by deductive research? Deductive research is where there's already a theory, and out of that theory, you make assumptions, and then you test the assumptions. These assumptions are known as hypotheses, right? Now, for an example, let's say already there's a theory on depreciation. And so let's say it was developed in 1800s, theory on depreciation, and now you are going to test that. Already the theory is there, and now you're going to test that in Sri Lanka. So you will come up with an assumption. So you are going to take that theory on depreciation, and then you will be making an assumption. The assumption is the hypothesis. You might be developing a hypothesis out of that. You might say, okay, the majority of the firms, majority of the entities are using straight line method. And then what you do is, that's your assumption. Then you gather data from the Sri Lankan entities and you test that. And then let's say you took data out of 100 companies or 100 entities. And out of 100 entities, let's say 80 are using straight line depreciation method. So what happens to your assumption? Is your assumption supported or rejected? Is your assumption supported or rejected? Right?
Supported.
Supported, because out of 180, let's say 80 firms are using that. So what you did was, here, rather than developing a theory, you took a theory, you generated certain hypotheses, and then you tested them. So in deduction, what you do is you test a theory. You test a theory. In induction, what you do is you develop a theory. So these are the 2 approaches. Right? Again, remember, on the inductive research, what you do is you collect data, look at common patterns, and develop a theory. Let's say there's no accounting standard or on depreciation or whatever. Then you are going to collect data from the company, the entities that are using different depreciation methods in this world. And you are going to look at common patterns in that data and develop a theory on depreciation. In deduction, what you do is, once there's a theory, later on, first you should have a theory for that to apply the deductive method. What you do is you take a theory like depreciation, then you make an assumption. Like your assumption might be that the majority of the companies are using the straight line method. Then what you do is you collect data to test that in Sri Lanka. And yes, you took 100 companies or 100 firms, and out of 100 firms, 80 firms are using that. So what you say, whether your assumption or hypothesis is supported or not, it is supported because 80% are using that. That means the majority. Other 20%, they might be using some other methods. There's a different story. But this is what we call the deductive method. Is that clear? I told you big names, but a very small idea behind that. Inductive, you create a theory. Deductive, you test a theory. Right? Take a note out of that. In the exam, you might be asked, differentiate between the inductive and deductive approaches in research. In inductive research, what you do is you create a theory. In deductive research, you test a theory. And you can give the same example on theory on depreciation. Okay. So don't be afraid of these big terms. Some researchers might be using, some academics might be using inductive versus deductive and big things. But again, the idea behind them is quite very similar. Okay. Clear with that? Right. Now, had we had a physical class, I would have done this, a group activity, but now what we need to do is we need to do an individual exercise, right? And as we did for the DBS, right? Answer these 2 questions and upload it to the LMS. And I'm going to give you, right, 12 hours from now, right? And then you can upload that, the answer. So let me put that into the LMS. And also, I saw some students were sending me emails. My goodness, don't send me emails because I get around 150 emails, right, per day. Right, I get a lot of emails, so I might not be able to track them. So your emails might be lost. So kindly, Buddha, upload your answers into the LMS. You might say, sir, I don't have got access to the LMS. Then immediately contact your LMS administrator, right? Right? Contact your LMS admin or contact Miss Jennifer or contact me, Mr. Karivasam, and tell that you have not got LMS access. Then they will give you LMS access, and therefore, Puta, only use the LMS for the giving or uploading any kind of assignment. Because if not, it will definitely get lost. Right. So I saw some students were sending that, so please don't do that. Because I won't be able to track that Puta because I get several emails. So I'm going to put under assessments. So there are already a lot of assessments. So later on, I'll be, grouping them. So let me put an assessment on. It's an individual activity. It's not a group activity. So let me put that. You have 12 hours to do that, right? Don't worry. So I'll put an assignment. You will see how an assignment is created by the way. So I'll say activity 1. It's not a group activity, it's an individual act, right? Activity 1. And under activity 1, what you have to do is this. Just answer these 2 questions and upload it to the LMS, right? In a Word file or PDF file or whatever file that you write, answer. Let me write it down. Answer the above 2 questions and upload using this link. Okay. So let's call it question number 1. And this question number 2. Right. Let me make it display. And let me set the deadline. Right. Today is 2nd January. And let me give you 12 hours from now. 2nd January. Right, 2024. Let's make it 8. Or let's make it even 9 a.m. tomorrow. Right. It's not 2nd, then it should be 13th. Is it? Right. 12 hours from now. And please, 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 please upload it to the LMS, right? And don't send me any emails. If you have access problems, please get it resolved from your LMS administrators, right? As well as you can contact Ms. Jennifer, Mr. Karvasam, or even the director, right? In that case, and get it resolved. So yes, so you have to just upload only one file. And let's save. So you can see here, activity 1. This activity 1 under assessments. So please provide the answer for this particular activity. Right now it's open from now onwards, right? And you can upload the answer. So what's required is we have to define result using an accounting example of your choice. So apply the definition that we discussed to an accounting example. Then also distinguish between inductive and deductive research using an accounting example or examples. Right? Put your answers into a Word file and or make it PDF and you can upload it using this link. So the deadline is by tomorrow because some students I know that you are joining from overseas. So it might be midnight now if you are joining from Canada or US or Bahamas. I don't know. Maybe now it's exactly the opposite time. It's only 12 hours from now. Maybe you're working or maybe you're sleeping. So indeed, I could understand. So therefore, you are given 12 hours, which was the protocol, right? Even in the earlier subjects, right? Okay, is that clear with that? So it's an individual activity. It's not a group activity. It's an individual activity. So good luck with that assignment, right? Okay, so let's call it not a group activity. Let's call it an individual activity. We cannot give group activities in this class because some students are unable to do the group activity being overseas. Okay. Right. Before I come to this particular 7-stage process of research, which I told you earlier, I would like to ask you whether you have any questions. Questions, concerns? Is it clear? Shall I ask some questions? If you are not asking me questions, I might ask questions. How many guys are? My goodness, there are 43 students. That's very, very good. Excellent. Okay. We'll ask some questions. Right. Jaya. Madhubashi. Did you understand it, Buddha? I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm just asking whether you understood things. Is it clear, Buddha? Don't worry. So don't leave. You can stay. Right. And if you're not comfortable in answering, you could say, okay, there's no any problem. Right. You can say, sir, sorry, I have no idea. And very politely, you can tell that there's no any problem. Right? Not all we might not, and the recording is there. The best part of this lecture is the recording is there. So you can listen to this again and again and again. Or if you're unable to take part in the lecture, you can listen it to again. But again, what I recommend is to take part actively in the live lecture. Because however you have to spend that time, so why not you take part in a live lecture? Because sometimes what I have seen is that unfortunately, some people, they think that they will do it someday, right? But that day never dawns, that day never comes, right? So therefore, you have to understand now. One great philosopher, Lord Buddha, told that the best time to do something is what time? Now, isn't it? So I'm a Muslim, by the way. I'm not promoting any religion or religious leader, but being a Muslim, right? So I'm not promoting, but what he says is exactly correct. What he told was Lord Buddha, right? One of the great philosophers. What he told was, yes, it's now. And there are books written on the power of now. So use this time very productively and effectively. Okay. And that day I was telling about 15 habits of highly effective people. How many of you read it? Let me show you that. So today I can show you that So, and I post that video as well. So if you are really, and this also has the secret of Richard Branson. That day I told you. Richard Branson's secret weapon is there. Now, Richard Branson is a person who's having even reading difficulties, right? Who's having reading difficulties. But you will see that he has 400 companies under his belt, and his worth is about 4 billion US dollars, right? So let's say 15 secrets. You can go to YouTube and you can say 15 secrets of time management. Here, this is the book that I was telling, right? Kevin Cruz has written this book, and I highly recommend, right, this book to be read. And also you can see that in some place you might even get the entire audio book on the legalist program, right? But you will see the summary is also there, right? Book summaries are given, and so it will tell. Okay. So yes, I'm used to read the summaries of a person called Nathan. Right, yeah. This is a free audiobook. You can read it and you can see, and you can apply it. Right? Just not entertain yourself by just watching it like a teledrama. Try to apply it. So if we had time, I would have even played this because it's so important. I just post the so.
Introduction. What if you had the time to do everything? How can you schedule your day so that you have?
Actually gives 15 secrets. So I'm going to post the link right into the chat, and please go through them. It will really increase your productivity. So when I read this, I did not really expect this is going to be so powerful, but it was really powerful. And you can even see there's the PDF version of this book as well, and the EPUB version. Likewise, there are different versions that you can get. So please go through this video as well as see what are the 15 ways that you can increase your productivity and gain massive success in your life. And you might be telling, sir, I don't have time to study. But this book gives you 15 secrets how to manage your time effectively, productively, right? So I have subscribed to a person called Nathan. You will see this, the productivity game. So you have to pay about $40, right, per year, and he has got book summaries. So let me give my email address. You can see Ajwad, and so I have got the premium membership, and he has got several books here summarized, and he's now a book might take about 2 or 6 hours, 7 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours to read, but he has summarized that right 15 minutes. See, now these 15 things mentally strong people don't do, then how to be successful in your life. And he has hundreds of books summarized, and he has got the PDF summary in very few pages. So easy to read. So if you are a busy person, no time to read, in a good way, building a second brain. A very effective way how you can retain a lot of information. So see if you have 2 brains, what would have happened? That's the second brain. You can do that. Of course, you can go to YouTube and see what's second brain. And these are personal productivity development books. It's not related to any religion. It's all to do with increasing your productivity. So if you want to really be successful, read this now. If you don't want to get a premium membership, You can go to YouTube and there's enough information. Rather than watching some useless teledramas and funny videos, cat videos and other things, try to increase your productivity. Because Bill Gates is having 24 hours. Late Mr. Steve Jobs is having 24 hours. He in fact had 24 hours. Right. We are also having 24 hours. But see the massive success that they have in their lives. Massive success. Why? Is it purely luck? No. It's how they use their time. It's how they use their time. So these books and these, so maybe in the future, I might even take 15 minutes or 40 minutes and sometimes play. Now, I really enjoyed reading this book, Do Hard Things. How could you master yourself to do hard things? Like preparing for a lecture, doing an assignment, or doing an activity that's difficult in your job, right? Or at least maybe sometimes cooking, or maybe cleaning your garden. So likewise, so how to do these things? Do hard things, complete summary. So maybe sometimes I might, if time permits, I'll show you this, right? It will create a big difference. These are all based on research. And now this 15 thing, now he says this particular, so you can see that he did a research using Olympic athletes, then billionaires like Richard Branson, then straight A students. So he did a research and then he identified these 15 secrets. So even if you apply 2 or 3 secrets out of that, it will give you a massive success. So I'm not promoting anyone, but I'm telling my own experience, right, through research. So if you do have time, please watch this and tell me your experiences. And never tell that you are busy and you don't have time for studies. Once you read these things and once you improve. Now, this is not the only book. There are several other books. Now, here I subscribed to this particular productivity game. So it was about only $40 or $45 for the entire year. And it's well worth. There are hundreds of books summarized by this person and given the key insights. And the audio version is there, the PDF version is there, so also the video version is there. Okay. So that's about research-based books that you can apply for your life to, again, tackle a problem that you might be having. What's your problem? The problem might be no time for studies. How to get, rid of that or how to overcome that issue? Read books. That's called literature. Right. Now let's try to see how to apply this, the research process. Right. So this is the 7-stage process that you can apply to resolve any problem in your life, almost. Right. Please see how many steps are there. How many steps are there? There are 7 steps. What are the 7 steps? If you have some problem in your life, or in your business, or in your employment, or at your home, first thing what you have to do is define the problem. If you don't define the problem, it might be in your mind, it might be in your head, but your problem is not defined, meaning that you don't know what's your problem. The best thing is to take a piece of paper or open a Word document. Or if you don't need Word, just go to Google Chrome and type doc new. Then it will open a Google document and then type your problem. Right? Type your problem. First, define your problem. So that's the step number 1. Unless you define your problem, How can you resolve it? Right? A lot of people, they suffer because they have not defined their problems. So sometimes you might be worried of things. You might be really disheartened, disappointed, but you don't know why. It's because you have not defined your problem. Maybe your problem might be lack of money. Then tell my problem is lack of money. Now your problem might be you don't have enough time. You don't have enough time for studies. Right? So that might be your problem. So first thing what you have to do is define it properly. You can very clearly say now the problem definition has to be done very precisely. Right? This one. Very precisely you have to define. Right? You have to tell what exactly your problem is. You can say, okay, there is no time to study for the degree. Right? That's your problem. SAB degree for the year 2024. There's no time. So that's your problem. So define it very clearly and precise. Then next thing what you have to do is you have to read the existing knowledge. That's called the literature. Existing knowledge on the subject matter that you are dealing with is called the literature. Now, let's say your problem was no time to study. So you can see what others have already found out related to that subject matter. Right? Related to that subject matter. So the others might have written books. The others might have published research articles. The others might have done videos and different things. That's called literature. Literature is the existing knowledge related to an issue. Now here it's about time management, right? So already I told you now, I told you the 15 secrets of Kevin Cruz. What's that? That's literature. So you read them. You read theories, time management theories are there, as well as you see, right, findings. Right, like Kevin Cruz, he has done Kevin Cruz. Then there are time management theories as well. Different theories are there. 80-20 principle. Likewise, there are different theories. So, and as well as there might be other studies done using data. So that's step number 2. Now, suppose if the answer is there in those questions, in literature, if the answer is there, then you don't need to do your research because you can apply, immediately take the solution out of the literature and you can apply that into your life. Now, I read 15 secrets of highly effective people, successful people. And what I did was I resolved a lot of my issues related to time management. On the other hand, you can test that as well. You can test whether something would work, right? So by reading these books, you can create an assumption, right? Now, say for an example, in this book, there's one principle called the 80-20 principle, right? The 80-20 method or the principle, which is called the Pareto method as well. So then you can take that method and you can form a hypothesis. You can form, now you are going to check that whether 80-20 principle would work. The 80-20 principle would work. Right? So from where did you get that hypothesis? From the literature. Maybe it worked for Kevin Cruz. Maybe it worked for Americans, but you might suspect it might not work for your employees, your friends, or Sri Lanka. So therefore, you make a hypothesis out of that. Your hypothesis is an assumption. Your assumption might be, yes, positively you can state that, like saying that the 80-20 principle, right, helps me to be more effective, right, and pass or be successful, right, at this degree program. So that's a hypothesis. That's an assumption. Then what you do is, to test that, you are going to design the research, right? here there are different research designs. Particularly, there's the quantitative and qualitative design. Like there, I'll teach you what are these things. Not today, but in time to come, I'll teach you. There are different research designs. So what in a research design, what you'll do is you will first design a questionnaire, right? Now you want to see whether the 80-20 principle would be used successfully, right? And so you are going to create a question and give to your friends, give to the graduates who already did this degree, and even other graduates you are going to give and ask them whether the 80-20 principle helped them to be successful as a student. Then what you do is you collect data. Right? You give that questionnaire, you define your population, and you took your sample and you collect the data. And then what you do is you analyze the data. How can you collect the data? You can give a questionnaire, you can interview people, and you can collect the data. You're going to ask them whether simply you're going to ask the 80-20 principle help them to be successful, right? And then once they give their responses, you are going to analyze the data, right? Simply you can see how many people told yes and how many people told no. And some people even might have told do not know. What's 80-20 principle? Now let's say out of 100, right? Out of 100, 70 people told 70 graduates as well as straight A students told that the 80-20 principle helped them out of 100. Then what's your interpretation? Let's come to the end. What's your interpretation? Your interpretation is that that method is effective to be but successful by managing your time effectively as a student. So that's the interpretation and report. So that's the end of the process, right? So likewise, if you have an issue, what you can do is you can follow this process. But unfortunately, human beings, once they have an issue, what they do is they rely on their gut. They think, okay, this is the solution, and they do that, and they might be in trouble. Or some people, what they do is they ask their grandparents or grandfather or grandmother. Okay, grandfather, grandmother, what to do? Or they might ask their friends, right? Their so-called friends, might not be a good representative sample, right? And ask what to do. But rather, I suggest this scientific process. First, define your problem, see the related literature, existing knowledge, and if the already the answer is there, then you don't need to do the research. But say if the answer is not there, you can read the literature and you can formulate a hypothesis and then design the study, right? Design a questionnaire and see who is a good sample for you. You can get from average people, you can get successful people, the people who had done good in their academic activities, and then collect data, analyze the data, and then come up with the interpretation, right? And also, if you read these books, you will see that there's another method called different methods are there. There are several methods that you can apply in your life for studies, right? Different methods are there. So different, you can test them. You can take these methods and you can test whether the other students, successful graduates, students, straight A students, right? What they think about that. Okay. So this is called the research process. How many steps are there? Unmute yourself and tell me how many steps are there?
7 steps.
7 steps are there, right? Okay. Step number 1, define your problem. Step number 2, read the existing literature. That means existing knowledge on that area. Then number 3, form an assumption out of that. like whether a certain method is effective. Then design the study, meaning that you have to design your sample. Who's your sample? Who's going to be your sample? In this case, straight A students, successful graduates, those kind of people. Then collect the data, analyze the data, and then interpret and report your findings. So finally, you might find the 80-20 principle is a very, very successful method, right? To be a straight A student, as well as maybe to be a very successful individual in your life, right? So likewise, you can test that. Now let's take that depreciation example, right? Now for an example, now your problem might be define the research problem. Your problem might be, now let's say there's no, there is a theory on depreciation. Let's say someone has developed, right, using the inductive methodology, someone has constructed a theory on depreciation. Let's say for an example, even accounting standards could be treated as a kind of a theory, a normative theory, right? So let's say for an example, accounting standard says that these are the accounting methods. These are the methods for accounting for depreciation, or let's say not for accounting, let's say calculation of depreciation, right? So your problem is not that. Your problem is what's the common method? What's the common method, right? Or what's the most popular method in the plantation sector? In the plant, for an example, you take a sector, the plantation sector in Sri Lanka for depreciation. So that's your question. Then what you do is you look at existing studies, including existing theories. Now already someone has come up with a theory of depreciation, but that particular study says the common methods. It doesn't say that in plantation sector in Sri Lanka, it says there are 3 methods, let's say. But other than, let's say that someone has already done a study on this area. Let's say I have done it. Professor Adjwad has done in the plantation sector. What's the depreciation method? And already got an answer. It's the straight line method. Then do you need to do this research? If I have already done that, do you need to do that? Yes or no? Yes or no?
No, sir.
No.
No, you don't need to do. And stop from there and take my word for that, because I have done a scientific research. But let's say no one has done that. Right? Others might have done for manufacturing sector, service sector, and other sectors, but no one has done it for the plantation sector. So you have identified there's a gap in the literature, gap in the existing knowledge. So based on the common theory, what you do is then you come up with a hypothesis. What's your hypothesis? Your hypothesis, like, it might be an assumption like this. Majority of the plantation companies are using the straight line depreciation method. So that's your assumption, because you don't know it. The others might have told in manufacturing sector it's a straight line method. Maybe in some other sectors, in the banking sector, it's a straight line method. But here in plantation sector, no one has done it. So therefore, you have come up with an assumption. In the plantation sector in Sri Lanka, the most common method is what? The straight line depreciation method. Then what you do is afterwards, you design the research. Meaning that then afterwards you have to decide what's your population, then what's your sample, and how you are going to collect your data. Now in this case, can someone tell me what's my population? What's my population? Companies in Sri Lanka? Is it my population? Is it my population? Companies in Sri Lanka are my population? No.
No.
No, it's what? Plantation companies in Sri Lanka.
Plantation.
Plantation companies in Sri Lanka. Because I am interested in plantation sector. So plantation companies in Sri Lanka. I don't know how many plantation companies are there, listed and unlisted. Let's say there are 100 companies. Okay. Then yes, I could take the entire 100, or I might take 50 companies out of that. That's my sample. Population might be 100, and I might take 50 companies. Then after that words, I will create a question and collect data. I'll ask them simply, what's the depreciation method they use? Then you will see, you can do a simple frequency analysis, meaning you will see how many companies are using the straight line method, how many companies are using the accumulated depreciation method, and how many companies are using the unit of analysis or unit of production method. Right? Let's say out of these 50 companies, 30 companies are using the straight line method. And the other methods are used by the other 20 companies. So what's your interpretation? 60%, isn't it? 30 out of 50 is 60%. 60% of the companies are using the straight line depreciation method in the plantation sector in Sri Lanka. So is your assumption supported or not? Assumption is supported or not? Indeed, yes. Because 60% is the majority. And the majority are using the straight line method. So you interpret that way and then you report that in your research articles or in your journals or other means. So this is the way how you conduct a research, and this is the research process. Right? Is this clear? This is called a scientific process. And in fact, is it deductive or inductive? Is this process deductive or inductive? May process inductive process deductive process. Is this process an inductive process or deductive process?
Deductive process.
Very good. It's a deductive process. In deductive research, what you do is you take a theory, then you formulate hypothesis and you test that. So in fact, it's a deductive process. It's a deductive process. Very good. So my daughter also has come to listen to my lecture. And then she's been taken away by her mother. Okay, so that's what you can see, the 7-stage process, starting with defining of the research problem and then coming up with the interpretation. Right. Okay. Any questions you have related to this process? Is this clear? You can say it's common sense, isn't it? And unfortunately, this is what, although it's common sense, this is what we don't do when we have a problem. So if you have any problem, try to apply this process. Right? First define it, then see what's being already found out about that. Then develop a hypothesis. Now, one student was telling whether printing money would increase the inflation. So this is how you can test it. Right? You can define your problem. Yes, you have a problem in Sri Lanka, whether printing money would increase inflation. And one of our former central bank governors, who is a professional accountant and even was one of the presidents of that particular institution, was telling that printing money has no impact on inflation. My goodness. I don't know from where he has got that information, but again, then you can review the literature, what others have found out. Then maybe in other countries, in other studies, it indicates, yes, printing money increases inflation. Then you can design a study. You can ask all the experts in Sri Lanka, right? Economic experts, right? That's your population. And you can take a sample. You can collect data. You can analyze data and then come into your conclusion. So this is the so-called scientific process. Or if you are a central banker, in fact, you can experiment as well. That's a different research design. Here we call this is a cross-sectional design, right? A deductive cross-sectional design. You don't worry about those terms. I teach you what are these cross-sectional and other designs. So this is the process that you will follow. Or if you are a central banker, then if you are a central banker, you could have, if you are a central banker, you could have, you know, kind of even experimented this. You could print money by having other things constant and see whether what kind of repercussions does it have, right? By printing money. Okay, so I already told you what's a literature review. A literature means here existing knowledge, what's known already about a subject matter. If it is depreciation, which was your issue, then any information related to depreciation is literature. And I'll tell you how to do a literature review, how to review the existing knowledge. I teach you, right? In Titacom, particularly in chapter number 5, I will tell how to do that, right? Then there can be different types of research questions. And then I'll teach you students. I had a small drop in my call. Can you hear me, Buddha? My internet connection was dropped. Is it clear? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you very much. Okay, Buddha. There was a drop in my internet connection. Sorry about that. Okay, let me come back. So yes, so I was explaining to you that these processes that these now these the 7-stage process which I taught you, and then literature review in that, right? Then research questions to be. I was telling you to have clear research questions, right? Not to have vague or questions that people would not understand. And DESCOM have come up with 6 type of research questions, right? You can see 6 type of research questions by DESCOM. So what are these research questions? One research question might be predicting an outcome. Does Y happen under the circumstances A and B? Now, for an example, does inflation occur when you print money? When you print money. So that's predicting an outcome. So your research question might be that whether printing money leads to inflation, right? Then explaining the causes and consequences of something. Or let's say, for an example, whether job satisfaction leads to better job performance. That's a consequence. Or you can see whether money causes job satisfaction. That's you are trying to explain the cause, right? Increasing the salary would increase the job satisfaction. Then the consequence might be higher job performance. So likewise, you would be able to see the causes and consequences of certain things. Or what you could do is you can even evaluate a phenomenon in your research. You can take something and you can see whether it's beneficial or not, right? Now, say for an example, you could take cryptocurrency. Let's say take for an example cryptocurrency, and you can see whether cryptocurrency is really good or bad. What are the benefits of cryptocurrency? What are the disadvantages of cryptocurrency? Likewise, you can evaluate by taking a concept. Then you might also describe certain things. It's not evaluation, you describe certain things. Now, for an example, you might be interested in blockchain, and you might describe that about the blockchain. So describing, then you can come up with a good practice, like depreciation. Now, of course, depreciation was there and is there and will be there. But again, if there's no yet a good practice on certain things, you can develop a good practice. For finally, DISCOM says you can empower, right? Empowerment, like women empowerment, minority empowerment. So how we can enhance the lives of those we research. That's called empowerment. So likewise, these can be your research questions. These can be your research questions. Now, if I ask this question, out of these 6, what do you think the most research questions are on? Number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 or 6? Now, these are 6 different ways that you can do research. And 6 different research questions. My question is, what's the most common one? What's your thoughts? What's your perception? What's your perception?
Number 2.
Number 2, yes, very good. That's a good perception, Buddha. That's a good kind of guess. Yes. A lot of studies are doing number 1 and number 2. Right, number 1 and number 2. Most of the studies are predicting an outcome. You might see whether job satisfaction, or even you might be looking at different things. Like for an example, with now under number 1, with a better corporate governance leads to better financial performance. Predicting an outcome. Whether printing money would lead to higher inflation. Predicting an outcome. Then explaining the causes and consequences. Yes, a very common research being done. But then number 3, 4, 5, and 6 are quite comparatively lesser. Right? Then I teach you in sampling chapter number 8. Right? Using Microsoft Excel, I'll teach you how to perform sampling. There are 2 basic sampling methods. Right? One is called the statistical method and the non-statistical method. Under statistical method, you have several methods like simple random sampling, stratified random sampling, systematic sampling, and then even cluster sampling. With simple examples, I'll teach you, and you can use Microsoft Excel to perform them. I'll teach you that. Then there are non-statistical sampling like convenience sampling, snowball sampling, etc., etc. We'll discuss this. Then data collection. Also, throughout the series of these lectures, I'll teach you how to collect data. So there are structured methods like structured questionnaires, and there are less structured methods like doing interviews, semi-structured interviews or unstructured interviews as well. So we'll see what are those things. I'll teach you them as well. Then I'll teach you a package called SPSS, right? To do data analysis. SPSS. How many of you are already familiar with SPSS? Anyone? දැන්ටමත් SPSS දාන කට්ටිය ඉන්නවද? Anyone who knows about SPSS? No one. Anyone in this class who knows about SPSS? Okay, don't worry, I'm going to teach you that. Right from rock bottom, I'm going to teach you that. What's SPSS and how to do data analysis using SPSS, we'll discuss. Right. And then once we do this research, we'll be communicating that research. Is the 7th step, the last step, right, where you have to communicate your findings. And it will be by way of a research report. And your research report, these are the components. There'll be an introduction into your research report. That's usually chapter number 1. Then chapter number 2 is the literature review, existing knowledge. Then chapter number 3, research methods, how you're going to achieve your research objectives. Then results and discussions are chapter number 4. Usually these are combined. These are two combined. Results and discussion. So once you get the data, once you analyze the data, what are the findings, results, and you are going to discuss. Then chapter number 5, conclusion. Conclusion. So those are the 5 ingredients. 4 ingredients of a research report. When you communicate your research findings, you have to tell these things. You have to introduce the research. You have to provide a literature review, existing knowledge. Then you have to explain the methods of the research. Right. And then you have to discuss your results and discussion as well. Then finally, you need to provide the conclusion. Okay. Right. Then finally, Ryman and Bell concludes the chapter by telling this. Social research is messy. Now, although you saw there's a nice 7, now here Kothari gives 7 steps in performing research, nice straight 7 stages. But in fact, when you are going to do a research, right, there will be feedback and feed forward loops. Right? That means sometimes you might try to do things and sometimes you might need to change plans. Doing research is a messy process. It's not easy. So when we do research, we have to have the perseverance, patience, and sometimes we might not be able to collect data. Sometimes we might be getting the wrong data. Sometimes we might not have planned the research very well. So research process is messy. Don't think it's a very nice process where it's a linear process like this. Yes, we have to follow predominantly this process, but again, we might need to change our plans. We might need to do new things, right? We might have to change certain things that we try to do. So that's why Ryman says, at the end, social research is messy. So what he says is, research is full of false starts, blind alleys, mistakes, enforced changes to research plans. But these are rarely written about in the final research publication. When you read the final publication, their research article or in their research report, it's not there. They give only the things that were successful, that means what went as they expected. So therefore, remember, social research is a messy process. And that's why usually when you do a research, you are allocated a research supervisor. But for you, you don't need to do that, in fact, at least in this semester for this subject. Right? So my question now is, do you have a research project that you have to complete? In your degree, do you have a research project that you have to really do and produce a dissertation, a thesis? Thesis is the yes or no? Do you have a dissertation? Do you have a thesis? Check that and let me know. Right? Because it's quite a time-consuming task. And check your syllabus and see whether there's a thesis or not. That's going to be very, very important. Right? Okay. Right. So this is what I wanted to discuss with you. Do you have any questions? So we discussed the entire research process, the 7-stage process. So if I summarize what we did today, I first defined what's research. I told you that there are 2 important elements in that definition. What are the 2 important definitions? The elements in that definition? Research has to be what? A systematic process. Number 2, something new has to come out of that process. That was the first thing I discussed with you. Then second thing, the difference between applied research and basic research. What's applied research? the research that tries to find a solution for a current problem. In what's basic research? What's basic research? The research that generates knowledge and does not necessarily try to find a solution for a problem. Right? Then I taught you managers and research. Then I asked the question whether for managers, right, is it worth studying about research? What was the answer? It was completely useless, isn't it? Huh? What was the answer? Doing research, is it worthwhile or not? Studying research is worthwhile or not for managers? Absolutely, we understood it's important, right? It is important. We studied that. Then we discussed deductive and inductive research. Deductive and inductive research. In deductive research, we tested a hypothesis. In inductive research, we created a theory. Inductive, we create a theory. Deductive, we test a theory. We discussed that as well. Then after that, we came into the 7-stage scientific process of doing a research. Can you tell me what was the first stage? What was the first stage? Yes. What was the first stage?
Define the problem.
Yeah, you have to define the problem. Define the problem, right? That's where you started. Then look at the literature, come up with testable assumptions, hypotheses, then design the research, collect the data, analyze the data, and interpret and report the findings. So those were the 7 stages. Then I discussed a little bit of those stages, and of course, during these sessions, during our sessions, we'll be discussing more about these things. And finally, right, we came into this particular topic saying that what social research is quite messy, which is quite natural thing to understand because it's social research. Human interactions and other things related, right, activities are quite very complex. So that's what it makes social research also quite messy. Okay. Any questions before we wind up? Do you understand what I'm discussing? Is it clear? Clear then?
Clear, sir.
Okay. Pavani says it's clear. Thank you, though. How about others?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Okay, Buddha. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And of course, please listen to this again if you are not clear of some certain things. The best thing is that you have the recording. That's a great advantage, right, that you all have. So please go through them. And I think that's enough for today. Now we have come already. Yeah, it's 9:15. Okay, so it's quite late. I do understand, a long day for you. Okay, so with this, then let's finish for today. And let's meet on this Saturday. Okay, wish you all the best and good night for that.